So this morning on the first day of Pesach, I'm going to cover some interesting scriptures and point out, as I usually do, the hypocrisy of Christians today. So let's go ahead and get started with Zechariah 13. Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, against the man who is my relation, associate, says Jehovah of hosts. Smite the shepherd. Now this word actually does mean shepherd. And the sheep shall be scattered. And I will turn my hands upon the little ones, and that does indeed mean the little ones. And it shall come to pass that in that land, says Jehovah, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, and the third shall be left therein. Now, this happened when Vespasian and Titus sacked Jerusalem, killed a great many, took, 14,000 in captivity, and anyone who remained alive after that were allowed to live and remain. That's when this occurred. Now, that particular third is what is alive today. I will bring the third part through the fire. For instance, what is his name? The emperor who invented the name Palestine. I will think of his name in a minute. And will refine them as silver is refined. What? You Christians, you don't believe that, do you? No, you don't. They've been through the fire. Listen to me carefully, folks. I will try them as gold is tried. Now, they were. For what reason? What is the reason he is going to do this? To make sure that forever and ever that they will know his name. They shall proclaim my name. Why? Because we read up here, idolatry was in the land. The names of false idols. False names. All right? They will call upon my name, and I will hear them. I will say, this is my people, and they shall say what? They're not going to say, the Lord is my God. No, they're not. Because that is invoking, to do such a thing would be invoking the name of an idol. See, God or Deus, both are national idols of the people who use that term. For instance, God is the national idol of the English, the Germans, and the descendants of Gog-Magog crowd. Deus is the false idol of the Latin-speaking countries. But the name is what? Jehovah. They shall say Jehovah Elohim. They suffered all of this to make sure that they, and losing their shepherd, the smiting of the shepherd, so that they would be refined like gold is tried in the fire, so that they will forever proclaim his name or call upon his name, and he will hear them, and I will say, this is my people, and they shall say Jehovah Elohim. Now, Matityahu, not Matthew. Yehoshua, not Jesus. Yehoshua. The Messiah must have the name of Jehovah in his own name. Otherwise, it is a false name. Now, he said unto them, all of you. To who did he say this to? The disciples. Shall be offended because of me this night, because it is written, I will smite the shepherd, the sheep and the flock, and shall be scattered abroad. Now, the disciples were going to abandon him too? Then that means they are just as sinful as the rest of Israel. And you Christians who claim to follow disciples, out of one side of your mouth and out of the other side of your mouth you condemn Israel to eternal hell. When the disciples were guilty of the same things that the rest of Israel was guilty of. Abandonment. But after I am risen again, I will go before you into, it says Galilee, but he probably, I'm pretty sure he meant, he said Kinneret, just like the word Peter was never the name. And I showed you in previous videos where he says that you shall be called Cephas. In fact, you can look it up. Go to Bible Hub. See, that's the one thing about Bible Hub that gives you Christians no out, no excuses. Well, I'll have to Google it then. Google gives you no outs and no excuses. Oh, I misspelled it. All right, fair enough. It's pronounced as Cephas. There we go. So, when Paul spoke about Cephas, he'd never used the word Peter, because that was never his name to begin with. Cephas, James, not James, but Jacob. I went into detail of all of the names of the disciples, and I showed you what their real names were. This is how prevalent replacement theology is in Christianity. They wanted to erase Hebrew names from their lexicons because they would have nothing to do with the Jews. Because you see, the Christians under Constantine, under the Council of Nicaea, and before that, quite frankly, I don't know when, but Paul, when he spoke to the Corinthians and the Galatians and the Romans, he warned them in an accusatory manner that they were heading in the wrong direction while he was still alive. This was the whole purpose that Romans 11 was written, in an accusatory manner against the Romans. Okay? So, Cephas answered and said unto him, though all men shall be offended because of you, yet I will never be offended. But he was. Yehoshua, not Jesus, said unto him, verily I say unto you, that this very night before the cock crows, you shall deny me 3 times. And Cephas said unto him, though I should die with you, yet will I not deny you. Likewise said all the disciples. And what the disciples did not realize is, that was their death sentence. Because they said they were willing to die with him. Now they had to prove it. Because guess what? Then came Yehoshua with them into a place called Gethsemane. Don't know if that's the real name or not. And said unto the disciples, sit you here while I go and pray over there. And he took with him Cephas and 2 sons of Zebedee, or Zebediah, and became very sorrowful and very heavy, and he said unto them, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Wait here and watch with me. And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed and said, O my Abba, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not that I will, but as you will. And he came back to the disciples and found them all asleep, and said unto Cephas, could you not watch with me 1 hour? They failed. They failed miserably. Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The ruach is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak. Now, knowing that this is true, why then do you Gentiles continually condemn Israel? Why do you continually condemn the Jews? And he left them and went away and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same words. And then came he to the disciples and said unto them, sleep on now, and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hand of sinners. Rise, let us be going, and behold, he is at hand that does betray me. Now, and while he yet spoke, Yehuda, yes, his name was Yehuda, out of one of the 12 came with them a great multitude, a great crowd, with swords and staves, spikes. And the chief high priest and the elders and the people. Now he betrayed him, gave them a sign, saying, whosoever shall I kiss, that is the same as he, hold him strongly. And forthwith he came to Yehoshua, not Jesus. And said, hello, master, and kissed him. And Yehoshua said unto him, friend, why have you come? And they came and laid hands on Yehoshua and took him. And behold, one of them which was with Yehoshua stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. Then Yehoshua said unto him, put back again your sword in its place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. And so now what we have here, folks, people who proclaim to be followers of the Messiah taking sword against each other today, preparing for a nuclear war. And I just read a report this morning that France is now officially sending troops to Ukraine. Paving the way for a nuclear situation, trying to invoke Article 5, but you see, if they start a war, if a member of NATO starts a war with another country, they cannot invoke Article 5. Or if they invoke Article 5, members of NATO have the right to refuse. Now, he said, "Do you think that I cannot now pray to the Abba, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of messengers? But how then shall the scripture be fulfilled, as this it must be?" So I ask you, Christians, you Gentiles, how could scripture be fulfilled if this did not occur? How can you condemn Israel? How can you condemn the Jews? If this did not occur, there would be no salvation for the Gentiles. Yes, you Christian Gentiles are hypocrites. Now, what am I looking at here? Yes, okay. So, the disciples where was I? Now watch this. He said, in that same hour said not Jesus, but Yehoshua to the multitudes, "Are you come out against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you teaching in the temple, and none of you laid a hold on me there. But this was all done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled." What is that one? What scripture of the prophets? It would be Zechariah 13. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. Why, they were guilty of the same sins as Israel was. Yes, the disciples did have to suffer Zechariah 13. They did have to go through the fire and be refined as silver is refined. Every one of them, even Paul did. The only one who was not killed, but they tried to kill him. They could not kill him. They tried to boil him in oil. Yochanan. That he had to live the remaining of his days in a prison island. That's how. Yes, he had to go through the same thing that Israel did. That Israel is going through right now, and that they have been going through since the Crusades. So how dare you, Christians? How dare you curse under your breath and over your breath the people who have been going through the fire and being refined as silver is refined. How dare you condemn them when he says they will be my people and they shall say Jehovah Elohim, when you yourselves reject the Messiah, the real one, the Moshiach, Yehoshua, and invoke another name. No other name. Acts 4 verse 12. There's only one name. You Christians says he has many names. No, no, no. You're wrong. Right here, it says, neither is there salvation in any other, for there is no other name under heaven given to men whereby it is necessary or can be saved. Period. And what name is that? Well, we just read it here. It is not Jesus. Jesus is not Yehoshua. Yehoshua. I don't care. Contracted is not. Transliteration is not. Yehoshua is the name. If you go into, even if I were to go to Spain and visit, I would show them my name on my driver's license and on my passport, and every one of you should have one by now. And what would it say? Would it say Enrico? No. It would say Henry. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, the worst part of this is Jesus does not mean Yehoshua at all. And as I pointed out to you, Aries Hill, what have I done? Let's try again. Acts 17:22. We'll start in hold on. 17:22. Then Paul stood in the midst of Areos, the hill of Aries, and said, "You men of Athens," speaking to the Gentiles, "I perceive that in all things you are fearful of gods," or whatever, idols. "For as I passed by and I beheld your devotions, and I found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown Theos." One that they don't have a name for. No, they didn't have a name for Jehovah. And neither did they have a name for Yehoshua, who's named after him then. So you cannot say the Greeks never had a name for him. So don't say that he did that. He did. So, where was I? Acts 4. I can't remember where I was going with this. Now, so that I prove to you that there is only one name that's recognizable and that you Christians rejected that name, you then spent the last millennia and more condemning the Jews, when the Jews actually recognize the name. They say Hashem, which means the name. And in some of their rabbinical hymns, they actually utter the name. Now, it only took 1 month for ancient Israel to wait for their Moshiach, Moshe, up on top of the mountain getting the Torah from Jehovah. It only took the ancient Israel 1 month for them to start idolatry. You Christians, look what you have done. And you condemn Israel? You accuse them even today about Gaza. Yet the scriptures foretold of the Gaza event in Yoel 3 that he is going to give a mandate to Yehuda of Jerusalem. He's going to bring them back first. For what purpose? He gives them a purpose. I will gather the Gentiles to bring them down to the valley of judgment and will judge them there for my people, for my heritage Israel, whom you have scattered among the Gentiles and parted my land. For the sole purpose of his will, but also to bait you Christians, you Gentiles, you Muslims, to come down there and stop the mandate that they are given. What mandate have they been given? The mandate is this: Tyre and Zidon, that's southern Lebanon, that is where Hezbollah has their domain. And the coast of, and right there it says Palestine, even the King James Version, the writers of King James Version know exactly who he's talking about. This is actually Gaza, a territory on the South Mediterranean coast of Israel. Gaza. So they've been given a mandate. It says, will you render a recompense? Stop. Will you stop him from bringing the Jews of Jerusalem back? Will you? If you try, I will return your recompense upon your own head. Get revenge for what you did You took my silver and my gold and carried away into your temples my pleasant things, and the children of Yehuda and of Jerusalem you had sold to the Greeks, Western civilization, that you might remove them far from their border. Here's the mandate. Here is the mandate from on high. They are to do with, I will raise them up out of the place where you have sold him, and will return your recompense upon your own head, and I will sell your sons into the daughter and your daughters into the hands of the children of Yehuda. So Gaza and its people, Lebanon, South Lebanon and those people are given into the hands of the people of Israel today. It is a mandate from on high. You Christians have no business. You Europeans, you have no business. The Iranians have no business getting involved in this, because this mandate has been set more than 2 millennia ago. These very same people who Jehovah brought through the fire and refined them as silver is refined, as gold is refined, who call upon his name, and he is hearing them. They are his people, and they are saying Jehovah Elohim. He refined them in the fire, and you Christians are condemning them because he gave them this mandate. And they will deport them to the Sabians, that would be in Africa, to a people afar off, because Jehovah has spoken it. And what are you Christian Gentiles going to do? Proclaim this among the Gentiles. Cause them to prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. All the men of the war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. And let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves. And come all you Gentiles and gather yourselves round about there. And cause your champion. Cause your champion to descend. Right there you see descend. Jehovah. So the champion of Israel is, the Moshiach of Israel is going to descend because Jehovah gave those Jews who were tried in the fire, just like the 12 disciples were tried in the fire, were given the mandate to take Gaza and South Lebanon, and the Gentiles, the Christians and the Muslims, want to go to war with these Jews to defy the words of Jehovah in Yoel 3. And because they are defying his word, and they will defy his word, they're going to bring up their military against the Jews of Jerusalem. And Jehovah is going to himself bring himself, his champion, and the 12 or more legions of messengers when there are multitudes and multitudes in the valley of judgment, for the day of Jehovah is near in the valley of judgment. Put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. For the press is full of fats, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. And that's exactly what it's talking about in the book of Revelation. See here. See if I can find it. Reap. Oh, I can't even spell. Revelation 14:18. And I saw another messenger come out of the temple which is in heaven, and he also having a sharp sickle, and another messenger came from the altar which had power over fire, and cried with a loud voice to him that had the sharp sickle, Thrust in your sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the messenger thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast into the winepress the wrath of Jehovah. And the winepress was trodden outside the city, and the blood that came out of the winepress. This is the event of Yoel 3, and why does it occur? It is because the whole world is against the mandate that was given to the Jews of Jerusalem concerning Gaza and South Lebanon. That's why. So, it is you Christians that are anti-Messiah. It is you Christians and your false idol, which is anti-Moshiach. Now, there's something I want to point out to you. It is in Revelation 9. I want to show this to you. Verse 13, and the sixth messenger sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before Jehovah, saying unto the sixth messenger that had the shofar, loose the four messengers which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four messengers were loose, which were prepared for an hour, a day, a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. Now, here's the question. Do you know it? Do I know it? I don't think we do. But what I'm saying is, have you made any preparations at all for this event? At all? Look, there's something I need to show you. Is it 25? Yes. Matityahu 25. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom, and 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. They took no preparation for even to use the lamp. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. So the wise had an extra vessel with them. They prepared. They didn't just have their lamp full. No, they had a vessel with them. They had an oil can with them. They were prepared for this very day. Now, when is the bridegroom going to come? Well, we just read in Yoel 3. When? When all the nations come gather round about. And it says, what is it? Where is it? Oh. Calls your champion to descend. Right here. Are you prepared? It's becoming very obviously that day is near. Are you prepared? Prepared with what? Well, do you have your passport? Do you have one? I'm speaking to you Americans because you Jewish Americans and any Gentile who has their allegiance with Israel, do you have a passport? Liken that to extra oil in another vessel. How about that? Are you diabetic and have high blood pressure and on high blood pressure and diabetic medicine? Do you have, obviously you won't be able to have enough for our day and a month and a year because you may have to wait that long. I don't know how long you have to wait. See, there's a period of time. Let me show you something. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept, and in the midst, not at midnight, in the midst, it's right there in the midst, there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom is coming, go you to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps, and the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, no, lest there not be enough for us and you, but go rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to, so there was a period of time that went by before the bridegroom came. It says, while they went to buy, the bridegroom came. And they that were ready went with him to the wedding, and the door was shut. Have yourself prepared. Have a suitcase with your things in it. And what did I say about high blood pressure medicine? Diabetes medicine? All right, let me show you something. You can go on Amazon and get this. You can go on Amazon and get this. This right here is, and you can try it out for yourself. I have done it, and I proved it. I have a neighbor who, not a neighbor, there's somebody who lives in a county next to me who has a friend who had high blood pressure so bad he got an aneurysm in his brain. They cut his head open to repair the aneurysm. And those of you who are in the know concerning these things, if you have an aneurysm in your brain and they do surgery on it, you still only have a 50% chance of surviving. So this friend of his told me about this, and I gave him a half a bag of garlic. That's right, garlic bulbs. And I told him to just crush a clove Mix it in with your food every time you eat. And his blood pressure, see, his problem, his blood pressure was out of control. Blood pressure medicine could not fix his problem. Well, the guy recovered from his aneurysm, or from his surgery. His blood pressure went back down to normal, and very upset, he took the bag of garlic to his doctor and berated him about it. Now, you can go do your research. I'm not sure you have to do to see. Here's where they make the mistake right here. You take a capsule or two, depending on how bad your high blood pressure or your high blood sugar is, with your meal, or you eat a clove with your meal, and make sure that clove of garlic is not cooked. Now, what I'm saying is, you don't have to have a prescription for this bottle, and it will last a long time. Now, they have them in 200 capsules or 300 capsules, I think. 200. They do have them in 300, I do believe. It'll last a long time. You need to be ready, folks. Now, concerning drinking water. Well, there was a group of Americans who went down to Guatemala to do whatever. And some of them drank some of the local drinking water and got sick. Others drank water from a Terra Cotta pot sifting water, filtering water, using a Terra Cotta pot to filter the water. Terra Cotta is essentially ceramic. Bugs cannot go through ceramic. Bugs like protozoas, giardia. Yes, viruses can, but you get the point. You're more likely to be get sick from bugs. What I'm saying is, those who drank the water through the Terra Cotta pot did not get sick. You can get a 5-gallon bucket, put a tap on the bottom of it. Taps cost, what, $4 or $5 on Amazon? Go to Home Depot and get you a 12-inch Terra Cotta pot. Okay? Now you can get a smaller piece of smaller Terra Cotta and break it up and JB weld the hole in the bottom of it, and bammo, you have got a ceramic water filter that fits right inside of a 5-gallon bucket on the lip of the Terra Cotta pot. That $10 Terra Cotta pot that you get from Home Depot sits right down on the top of the bucket. Folks, think, please. If you are not prepared for what you know is about to happen, then you obviously don't believe at all. So I hope this has been food for. And look, I mean, you can you can buy beans and rice all day, and beans and rice. You can keep beans in diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth you can buy over at Walmart, and it'll virtually last forever as long as it doesn't get water in the beans. Same thing with rice. Won't get weevils in it. Trash cans at Walmart doesn't cost hardly anything. What are you doing? You know this event is going to occur. And if the fiery trial was so great for the Jews as it was, as we saw in Zechariah 13, how much worse is it going to be for the Gentiles? Wake up, folks.